What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in the United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which has been announced at $3.5 trillion. But one person, Senator Joe Manchin, a moderate Democrat, is trying to derail the entire thing. We actually have some major breaking news from Senator Joe Manchin here in this broadcast. We're going to hear directly from him. He gave an interview on CNN. And then we're going to hear from Senator Bernie Sanders basically confronting him and some major breaking news regarding on what is going to happen with the voting on this stimulus package. Remember that for this stimulus package to pass, we need all of the Democrats to vote yes on this, okay? And this is part of the art of the negotiations. Remember that Senator Joe Manchin did this with the third stimulus check package. He did this exact same thing where he said he wasn't sure if he was going to vote for it, and he made all these TV appearances, and he's doing this again with this next stimulus package. So we have some major breaking news from Senator Joe Manchin and then from Senator Bernie Sanders. Remember, Bernie Sanders is the person in charge of this $3.5 trillion stimulus package. So we're going to hear from both Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Bernie Sanders. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Remember, new videos come out here every day on our channel at 10 a.m., 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribing is completely free to do so, and I will keep you up to date on what's going on with this next stimulus package and what is going to be in it, as well as what's going on with our country. If you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, and let's jump right in. First, we'll hear from Senator Joe Manchin, then we will hear from Senator Bernie Sanders. Here we go.
So let's talk about the op-ed that you wrote. You said you cannot support the $3.5 trillion bill until you get, quote, greater clarity on why that amount is necessary. Most of your colleagues have been trying to give you that clarity over the past couple of weeks since you wrote that. Your party leader, Chuck Schumer, says he's moving, quote, full speed ahead with this package. Will he have your vote?
And that's fine. He can. He will not have my vote on 3.5, and Chuck knows that. And we've talked about this. We've already put out $5.4 trillion. And we've tried to help Americans in every way we possibly can. And a lot of the help that we put out there is still there, and it's going to run clear until next year, 2022. What's the urgency? What's the urgency that we have? It's not the same urgency that we have with the American Rescue Plan. We got that out the door quickly. That was about $2 billion, $2 trillion. And on top of that, you know, all the things we put out with the CARES package, everything leading up to that. So we have done an awful lot, and there's still an awful lot of people that need help. But you have 11 million jobs that aren't filled right now. 8 million people are still unemployed. Something's not matching up. Don't you think we ought to hit the pause and find out the vulnerability that we have, Dana, right now? We don't know what happened with this COVID. It's awful coming back the way it is with a vengeance. We don't know about inflation. We know it's running rampant right now. I can tell you in West Virginia, inflation's running rampant. And on top of that, the challenges we're going to have, geopolitical challenges. Shouldn't we be prepared?
So I want to ask you about a lot of that, but are you saying it's the price tag, it's the timeline, both?
It's the urgency. Do we have the urgency to do what they're wanting to do in such a quick period of time?
But can you be specific? Okay, let's talk about the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific number in mind?
Here's a number you should be getting to. First of all, I have agreed to get on to the reconciliation because that's the time for us to make financial adjustments and changes. I thought the 2017 tax code and tax law, the way it was changed, was very, very, very unfair, and it was weighted to the wealthy.
So what's the number?
And the bottom line is what the number would be what's going to be competitive in our tax code. I believe that the corporate rate should be at 25, not 21.
But what's the overall number for the budget bill?
I think that you're going to have to look at it and find out what you're able to do through a reasonable, responsible way.
So then how do you know that it's not 3.5?
It's going to be at 1, 1.5. We don't know where it's going to be.
So you think ballpark 1, 1.5?
It's not going to be at 3.5, I can assure you. But with that, whatever it is, once you have a competitive tax code that you can compete globally, and then you should look at what the need is. What's the urgency and the need that we have?
And I want to get to that, but just because this is the thing that people consume. Do you have a ceiling?
My ceiling is this: the need of the American people, and for us to basically take in consideration inflation. No one's concerned about the debt. You know, our debt as of Friday was $28.7.5 trillion. And we're not even talking about that. No one's
So
talking about that.
you just said 1.5. It sounds like 1.5
I'm just saying that
trillion is your
basically,
number.
well, I've looked at the numbers. If we have a competitive tax code from a non-competitive, it doesn't help the working person that was done in 2017, that's in the 1.5 range, okay? If that's where it is, shouldn't you be looking at what does it take now to meet the urgent needs that we haven't already met?
Okay, so let's talk about how this would be paid for. The White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, told me on this show last week that you are, quote, very persuadable on this budget bill because he says it will be paid for. It won't add to the debt. It won't add to inflation.
Well,
Your
if
response?
you're paying for it with inflated numbers from the standpoint, is the tax code, the numbers that they're wanting to pay for it, and the tax changes they want to make, is that competitive? Does it keep us competitive or not? I believe there's some changes made that does not keep us competitive.
Meaning don't increase taxes on corporations?
No, I want to increase taxes on corporations. I've spoken to corporations.
So what specifically are you saying?
I want the wealthy to play their fair share. But if you're up higher to the point to where you are that can be competitive globally, then it's going to be counterproductive. Everyone's looking at this in a whole complete different way than I think maybe I am or other people are just keeping quiet. The bottom line is, do we have the urgency to spend another $3.5 trillion right now? The most urgent thing that we have to do is get the bipartisan infrastructure bill that's gone left unattended for over 30 years, deferred maintenance throughout every part of our nation. That's the one. The president went out and campaigned on that. That's his bill. We worked it in a bipartisan way, got 19 Republicans to vote for it. That's the bill that should go out immediately.
Okay. Wow. This is Joe Manchin, man. This guy, man. Yeah, so he doesn't think America and Americans need help right now. He thinks that America's gotten a lot of help and that America needs to pause. Yeah, so $5.4 trillion from the past 3 stimulus packages has provided enough help for the moment, he thinks, and that we should pause. You can let me know your thoughts if you think that's the case. But also, he is willing to do $1.5 trillion of stimulus help, which would be almost equivalent to the third stimulus check package, which was $1.9 trillion. And also, I think this is all part of the negotiating game. But before we get ahead of ourselves too much, here is Senator Bernie Sanders, who is the person in charge of the next stimulus package, the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, has been announced at $3.5 trillion. Joe Manchin, the one person who wants to spend $1.5 trillion, he's literally the only person that wants to spend $1.5 trillion. And there's actually dozens and dozens and dozens of progressive Democrats that want to spend more than $3.5 trillion. Well, here's what Senate Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders has to say. Check this out.
First, your colleague, Joe Manchin, just explicitly told me repeatedly he will not support your $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. He wants to see something more in the ballpark of $1.5 trillion. Is that acceptable to you?
No, it is absolutely not acceptable to me. I don't think it's acceptable to the president, to the American people, or to the overwhelming majority of the people in the Democratic caucus. Look, we worked with Senator Manchin to pass the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which was enormously consequential and helpful to working class families in getting us out of the economic disaster that befell us as a result of COVID. I believe we're going to all sit down and work together and come up with a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which deals with the enormously unmet needs of working families. You know, we've got to lower the cost of prescription drugs for people. We've got to expand Medicare to include dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. We have to maintain the $300 direct payment we're giving to working parents, which have lowered childhood poverty in America by 50%. And I'll tell you what else we have got to do. The scientists will tell us that we got a few years left before there will be irreversible harm to our planet if we do not address climate change. And the truth of the matter is, Dana, as you may know, many of us made a major compromise in going from the $6 trillion bill that we wanted, supported by the overwhelming majority of Democrats, down to 3.5. Mm-hmm. And the last point that I would make on this, I know that Senator Manchin worked very hard on what's called the bipartisan infrastructure bill, $550 billion of new money to rebuild our roads and our bridges. What we have worked on is working both of those bills in tandem. They go together. And it would be a really sad state of affairs for the American people, for Congress, if both of those bills went down.
Do you think that's possible, that that could happen right now?
Yeah. I don't think it will happen. I mean, I think, look, this is a very difficult issue. What we are trying to do in this bill is more significant for working families than any bill probably since FDR and the New Deal. I mean, we're talking about expanding Medicare. We're talking about making sure that no working family in America pays more than 7% of their income for childcare, making pre-K universal and free, putting a huge amount of money into affordable housing, creating millions of good-paying jobs, home health care, you name it. This is a consequential bill. It is hard to put a bill like this together. At the end of the day, I believe we will.
Okay, and I want to ask you about more of the substance in a second, but the other thing that Senator Manchin is opposed to is the timeline. Chuck Schumer wants to have a draft of this reconciliation bill done by Wednesday. The House Speaker committed to holding a vote by September 27th. He said that's not going to happen, full stop. Are you willing to give it more time?
Well, I mean, a few days here or there, it doesn't matter, but there is a sense of urgency. And the sense of urgency is that we live in a country today where the wealthiest people and the largest corporations are doing phenomenally well, while working class people are struggling all over this country in terms of health care. You know, you got 90 million people uninsured or underinsured. People can't afford to pay prescription drugs, can't afford to send their kids to college. Kids are leaving school deeply in debt. You got almost 600,000 people in America who are homeless today. And you got the climate crisis. You know, Oregon is burning, California is burning, Siberia is burning. You know, people are dying in floods in New York City, unprecedented rainfall. There is a sense of urgency, which I think the American people understand. And what they want is finally, maybe, just maybe, the Congress of the United States will act for them and not just for the wealthy campaign contributors and the rich and the powerful, who, by the way, are pouring huge amounts of money. The drug companies, the insurance companies, fossil fuel industry, huge amounts of money in trying to defeat us.
Yeah, so wow, quite a difference of opinion there. We have, and this is all part of the negotiations. Believe it or not, if you remember this, they actually went through pretty much the exact same process with the third stimulus check package, the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, and largely Joe Manchin, did the exact same thing with the third stimulus check package. Joe Manchin, literally up until the last moment, was very wishy-washy, and they actually were voting on the Senate floor, and they had to actually take him off the Senate floor and go into a closed chamber while they were voting, and it actually ended up going on record as the longest vote ever, because during the voting process, they had to take him off the floor and on the Senate, go behind closed doors and negotiate with him while they were voting on the floor. I cannot make this stuff up, guys. And that is actually when they had to lower the income threshold for stimulus checks. So single filers, non-head of households that made over $80,000 did not get the third stimulus check, but they did add in that $10,200 unemployment provision at the very last moment. So in some ways, some people didn't get stimulus checks, people making over $80,000 to $100,000, but the unemployment people actually made out. They got that $10,200 unemployment tax break. So it was a give and take, and that's part of the art of negotiations. So as much as Joe Manchin seems like he's a terrible person, which some of you guys might think so, he did this exact same stuff from the last package. So now how hard-headed he will be with these negotiations when all is said and done, we will have to see. He's at $1.5 trillion, pretty much. I don't know, him and Kirsten Sinema, I don't know how low Kirsten Sinema is, but pretty much all the other Democrats are at 3.5 trillion and up. So what they end up negotiating down to, if it ends up at 3 trillion, 2.5 trillion, or whatever it ends up being, I don't think the package is not going to pass, because again, it's just, I've kind of been through this. It's kind of the art of the negotiation. It's kind of like I'm there with them, right? Because I just do this every day with you guys. So I don't know. I just kind of been around the block, right? Jimmy from the block, right? Not Jenny, but Jimmy. So I just kind of feel like Joe Manchin is kind of he's a little bit of a grandstander, right? It's just kind of his dog and pony show, and it's like, oh, Joe Manchin again. Well, I always get some people in the comments freaking out, like Joe Manchin's not going to vote for the package. What are we going to do? Where it's me, with me, it's like, oh, it's Joe Manchin, guys. He always does this, right? Now, I'm not going to say that he's going to for sure vote for the package or not for sure going to vote for the package because I'm not Joe Manchin. It does sound like he's going to for sure vote for the package. Well, not for sure because nothing's for sure, but it does sound like he would vote for the package if it was $1.5 trillion. It also sounds like that's his negotiating standpoint. That's his where he wants to start at, right? If you ever have negotiated for like buying a car, for example, there's a starting point and an ending point, right? The price for the car on the lot is the the car dealer's starting point, and you know that that's their highest price, and you know that you can negotiate them down, right? Same thing with Joe Manchin, right? I don't think that they're going to end at $1.5 trillion, but most of the Democrats want $3.5 trillion, and there's a lot of Democrats that want higher than $3.5 trillion. In fact, Congresswoman AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's a progressive Democrat, says what some of the other progressive Democrats say is she threatens to tank the infrastructure bill, the physical infrastructure bill, which is roads, bridges, clean drinking water, and will provide a lot of jobs and billions of dollars for each state. They're threatening to tank the infrastructure bill, the physical infrastructure bill, without the $3.5 trillion stimulus bill, saying, quote, "It would give me pleasure." She says in the subtitle, it says, AOC slams the infrastructure bill as a billionaire dark money fossil fuel Exxon lobbyist drafted bill. So basically, a lot of the progressive Democrats say if you don't pass the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, which that actually has a lot of the money for the people, the child tax credits, the adult tax credits. Remember, tax credits are basically just money in your pocket, whether they comes as a tax check on your tax return or monthly checks, and all the different stimulus type items that are going to be in this next package. That if you don't pass the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, that the progressive Democrats are going to not pass the physical infrastructure package as well. Remember, the physical infrastructure package passed with the slimmest of slim margins as well. AOC says, nothing would give me more pleasure than to tank a billionaire, dark money, fossil-fueled, Exxon lobbyist drafted energy infrastructure bill if they come after our childcare and climate priorities, aka the next stimulus package. And we've actually seen a lot of talk about adding additional money to this package here as we get very close to passing it. We've had a lot of talk about a $1,400 fourth stimulus check being added. A $1,400 stimulus check by the Senior Citizens League has been making a lot of news here recently, being added to the package here at the last moment. They're also talking about a potential $1,000 cash voucher for seniors to help pay for Medicare benefits, which again is just another form of giving you basically, if you're on Medicare, giving you basically $1,000 to pay for Medicare benefits, which again is just another way to put money in your pockets. Because again, if you're going to pay for Medicare anyways, this would be $1,000 to help you pay for Medicare. There's all sorts of different things, different stimulus provisions that they're talking about adding into this package. But if they cut the package significantly from $3.5 trillion down to $1.5 trillion or $2 trillion, there might not be money for these additional type of programs. As well as the Democrats have just announced yesterday that they do want to renew the monthly stimulus checks called the child tax credits that are $250 to $300 per month to families that have children until 2025. So this would be, again, just one of those another stimulus programs that go out right now. Those child tax credits, those monthly checks, those end at the end of this year. unless they can pass this package. Okay, so those go out to about 65 million families right now, and they said that those are going to take over 50% of children out of childhood poverty. But if they don't pass this package, well, then it's just not going to be good, right? Those end at the end of this year. So they do want to extend those monthly checks, the child tax credits, until 2025, but they have to be able to pass the package. And if they have to cut the package in size, well, if they have to cut the package in half, who knows what will happen. There's also supposed to be an adult tax credit in there, possible internet assistance, utility assistance, all sorts of different things in this next package, different stimulus provisions. So we really want them to pass the package and have the package be as large as possible. Free college, Medicare 2.0 to include hearing, dental, vision, hearing age, and lower the Medicare eligibility age to age 60. But if they threaten the size of the package and cut it in half, a lot of different things could potentially get cut. I mean, if you cut a package in half, there's going to be a lot of things that get left out. So I will keep you up to date. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Remember, new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're really close to the final negotiation part. They're releasing parts of the final bill right now, but they have to be able to pass the bill and how much the size of the bill is going to be. So don't miss out on any episodes at this point. Make sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon to get reminder notifications when videos go live. You can click this video here to see all the new stimulus checks and stimulus provisions that have been talked about and released at this point. And this video is our new family channel. I just released a new video, Julian's Adventures #2 with my son. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.